Hi there folks, it's Ralph with Stray Benzes. Today's topic deals with heat, or the lack thereof. The monovalve on this 420 SEL from 1989 is another rescue project of mine, and the monovalve has definitely got some issues, and I tell you what to scan for. There's another video where went into great detail of like what might be happening with the whole heating system and how to troubleshoot it. With the monovalve issue in itself, here's what you might encounter. The heat is not like fully on. There's always a little bit of it, especially now the temperatures outside here in Pennsylvania right now are barely at 32, so freezing. And it should be on all the time now. And there's just a little bit of a hint there, but it is not related to RPM, because some issues are related to the wrong monovalve. This one I know had the right monovalve in it. What happens if you have the incorrect one installed is that at idle you have heat, and the moment that you have about 2,000, 3,000 RPM, the heat goes away. And that's usually because the spring rating in the monovalve is incorrect, like the cheap ones made with pride in China ones. And that can only be fixed by getting the genuine one. And I'm going to give you the part number of the genuine one here in a moment too. But here's the steps that you need to take in order to troubleshoot what you need to do with a monovalve that might have an issue with a ripped diaphragm or something like this. So here are a couple of steps. The tools you'll need: Phillips head screwdriver, flat tip screwdriver. My favorite tool, this is actually an abused tool. Abused because I don't use it for the original intent. This is actually a spark plug removal tool, but I use this in order to handle the plug of the monovalve as well as the monovalve itself as well, and trusted pliers for removing the smaller little screws, and a multimeter. So what you need to do first is you need to remove these very small Phillips head screws right down in here, and here. Reason why? This is a tough job if you don't remove the alarm switch and the diagnostic plug here off of this holder, and this holder just comes up and flips up over here on the battery terminal. I already did this job, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly show you where the monovalve is behind here. So here you see the monovalve. It's right under there, and there you go, and there are flat tip screws that hold it in place, and those you need to carefully remove using a flat tip screwdriver. And what you do is you don't trust the magnetic properties of your screwdriver if it is magnetic, because those screws, once they fall down into the compartment behind all of this, good luck trying to find them, and they're not that easy to replace. So what you do instead is you take the pair of pliers and you pull up each screw individually. But in order to troubleshoot the monovalve, see that plug right there? That is the one that you pull up, turn around, and you use the multimeter, set it to at least 20 volt DC, and you take these two tips and you put that into the plug, because here's what needs to happen. Once you have all of this stuff taken out, you take this plier right here and you pull up the monovalve like so. You take this, take the plug off first. All right, got that disconnected, and then once you have the screws out of there, you can then pull this silver looking thing straight up. Now I've got it all reassembled. Obviously, for show effect, you won't see this anymore, but the other cool thing is you do not need to drain the coolant. What you will need to do, and I highly recommend doing this with a cold engine, but before doing that, go ahead and relieve the pressure off of your, let's see, just on the first stage. Make sure that you relieve the pressure out of your system so cooling water and pressure doesn't escape right there through the monovalve. So here I got the valve completely removed, and voila, the diaphragm is busted. And what happens here when the diaphragm rips, water gets behind into this part here, and this plunger cannot freely move anymore, and that explains why you have erratic heat, just a little bit here, a little bit there. So you do need to get this whole thing replaced. You can't just take this apart and then get another rubber component here. And again, the spring in the back here, see, the spring pulls this thing into the open position, and only when you energize it, and that's why you need the high voltage for no heat. So it makes it really important what kind of spring you have in here, because if it's too weak, the flow goes, unfortunately, through the housing by this valve seat and pulls the plunger down onto its seat. There's so much flow going through there. So if the spring is not strong enough, it does not keep this valve open and the heat on in your passenger compartment. So for reference purposes, this monovalve comes with this part number, and this part number is still available. Don't let the Benz supply folks tell you that you can't get the monovalve. What you can no longer get is the complete one, and that's usually what the parts folks at Benz look up. But if you have this part, you install this back in reverse order. Make sure that you have all the washers and springs that will come, and then they sit around here with the magnet and this cover plate with the 4 little screws, that all of this goes back together in the same sequence. And you take your trusted tool, put this back into the seat, secure the screws using pliers like this. Don't trust the screwdriver, the flat tip screwdriver, to hold on to the screw, and then you're gonna have heat again, I promise. All right, folks, good luck, happy wrenching, and hopefully you'll have heat again soon, just as I did. Bye-bye.